Okay, so maybe we can go into a quick intro of the whole project. We've been talking about having a podcast for a while, and for our guests who are listening, this is Papa Joe and my lovely fiance, Mama
Hi,
Judy.
guys.
And we used to work on the metal shop vlogs. We did that for about 3 years here in El Paso, and we had a lot of fun with it. And we like to think that we made a lot of really good friends because of it. We used to host people in our house and stuff, and we had a blast with it. But like everything else, it ran its course, and it came to an end. We did try to start a new project early this year. It was called Show Friends, and like the whole idea was to capture the show experience. But I think what happened is, and it's a drag because we had some really good friends helping us, and Judy's daughter Ember was helping us too. But I think we didn't give ourselves enough time off before we started something new. So it kind of just like fizzled out, and it wasn't because of anybody's fault or anything. It just wasn't working out for us, man. So we took time off. I think it's been like maybe 6 months since the last time we did anything related to a vlog
more.
or.
It seems like it. Seems like more than 6 months.
Yeah, and for a long time, Judy was always talking about having a podcast, and I really like the idea because now we can include her more in like the interview process. She was always behind the camera with the vlog, and now she's gonna be like a big part of the podcast. So I'm excited about that part. We can get a lot of her input, and people get to know a little more about Mama Judy, and like the whole, and the thing about the metal shop vlogs also that I always came to mind is that since we used the word metal in it, a lot of people thought that we only featured metal bands. But during the 3 years we did that project, we featured country acts, hip hop artists, all different genres.
Yeah, it's way more than that.
Yeah, so it took a while for people to say, "Oh wow, they're not just metal," and so I think with this one we wanted to name it something that wasn't so specific to a genre. So we picked the Desert Bonfire because Judy and I both grew up in the 80s when we were in high school, and our favorite thing to do on the weekends was always going to bonfires in the desert, man. For us, that's what we lived
bonfires were
for.
the bomb back then.
Man, I went
They
to
still are. What are you
bonfires.
talking about?
I went to bonfires in the
Really?
forest,
I
but
don't think there's bonfires anymore.
There needs to be.
Well, and the whole desert thing came because like we're in El Paso, and we went to desert bonfires. And I remember a lot of places we went to were called like, they had names like Cherry Hill,
Cherry Hill.
Free Dirt. Free Dirt is actually was located where Tinseltown is now. Actually, where Starbucks is, Starbucks and Ross.
Yeah.
Cherry Hill is actually where Tinseltown is now, the theater. There was also another place called Crater Hill and Southside. And those are the places we grew up at, man. We were in high school, growing up in the 80s with 80s, glam rock and metal and hair, 80s music. It was a great time for us, man. And that's basically where our roots got started with music, as fans. So that's the whole explanation for the name, The Desert Bonfire. And we would like to welcome any genre to the podcast. If you're doing anything cool, if you're a musician or anything that is interesting in El Paso, hit us up, man. We'll definitely be honored to feature
or if
you.
it's not interesting, come on by.
Yeah, if
Have a
you're
talk with
interested,
us. If you're interesting.
it could be a fun podcast.
And also, it's different because you're not on camera, so you don't have the stigma of being watched. So
Well,
Or
you can
are
just come
you?
in and be yourself. Okay, so
Be yourself.
And we like to welcome Damian Wyldes
Hey
on
everyone,
guest-
how's it going?
on vocals.
we did want to mention that today is October 26th, 2019, and we're really honored to be here at River Moon Records
Yes.
with our friends Ellen Herring, who is at the Control Center,
Yeah.
and our awesome guest, Mr. Damian Wyldes.
Awesome.
Thank you
Good
for
to be
welcoming
here.
us into your home.
Actually, this is like the first podcast, right?
This is the very
You are the
first.
I'm
Yeah.
like, it's like a super honor. My God. Woo!
Yeah,
Nice.
we're honored too, dude.
I'm a little
It's
too
like,
excited. It's like, dude, calm down.
okay, so I don't know if Judy wants to add anything to the whole intro. Maybe get her perspective as to what she's looking forward to, like being part of the interview process.
Well, I'm excited, but I'm so used to being behind the camera.
Yeah,
So I'll be trying this out, see how that works.
yeah, I'm sure you did great.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start our conversation with Mr. Damian Wyldes.
Oh.
And what I like to do is I had the idea of maybe starting off the whole podcast with first impressions. And Judy has a really interesting one of Mr. Damian Wylde, so if you could go ahead and get started.
Okay, my first impression of you, Damian, when I first saw you,
So I look like I don't
you
shower.
look intimidating.
Hey, that was
Oh,
mine.
intimidating.
Right?
You look intimidating because you're tall, this tall
Broad
guy,
shoulders.
and then just your whole look. I was like, oh my god, he looks mean. And then also I actually thought you were a country artist.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's weird. I don't even wear boots or nothing.
I know. I don't know.
I
It's
know, I
just-
never wear boots or hats.
don't know.
Dude, I just looked down and you're wearing tennis shoes,
Yeah,
and
no,
I
yeah,
assumed
Well, that, well,
I
that-
assumed your footwear.
Yeah.
Well,
I
that
mean, I
was
wear
my first
shoes, but
impression.
like,
That jacket does make you look maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, because he
Slightly
wears
country.
different types of jackets
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that, so that's why
Maybe,
I
I
assumed
can see that. Yeah, I
it
can
was
see that.
country.
Well, it's a funny story actually. When I first grew out my beard, which I tried to take off, but I have a daughter and she was like, Like once I grew it out and I shaved it for the first time, she's like, "Oh no, Daddy, what did you do?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" That's like the weirdest response that anybody's ever get. I was like, "All right, I guess I'm growing it back." But I did notice that whenever I had to, how like when you're in a restaurant and something's like wrong or you did something and didn't come out right, and you're like you have to complain about it to some employee at some point, and they've before I used to have a beard, they would always say, sure, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it really was like so weird, like, because I have like a baby face, so they were always like, whatever, dude, yeah, sure. And they would like do it, but you know how like people do it, it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
This guy's like, ugh.
Well,
You know what I
back
mean?
to your daughter. Maybe she didn't recognize you without it.
No, she,
Like,
she knew me forever without one. So
Oh, okay.
she just didn't like the way it looked. So I was like,
Oh,
She
I
preferred
see.
this look.
yeah, it
Yeah,
was like very
yeah.
specific. I'm like, that's weird. So I could imagine later in the future I'm probably gonna end up seeing some
Bearded guy.
No,
Hey,
but
that's not bad.
Hey,
That's
bearded
not
guys
bad.
are pretty
Bearded's
cool,
not
man.
I know,
bad.
but once I grew out my beard, it was like, excuse me, this is not correct. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I was like, oh, there's power.
Yes.
With the beard comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Well, that was my first impression of you. I don't know what
We'll go ahead and let Ellen.
Alan or Joe.
Oh man.
Oh, man.
Well, first of all, when I first met him, I was sick. Right?
That's right.
Like the way I am right now.
So,
I'm trying to get over
my
cold.
first impression was Damian Wyldes with a wave filter on. So I can't quite make out what he looked like. I don't know. I don't even remember my first impression. Like I was telling these guys, I don't even think I've seen you play live except for the open mic.
Oh, that's right.
And now I'm about to play a gig with you.
Oh, yeah.
And I still haven't
He's filling in permanently for Washboard and Bass Drum
When
now.
is his gig?
Well, no, well,
I don't know.
We were gonna play at the Bourbon and Whiskey Festival.
Oh, okay.
But it just at Sunland Park, but it just happened that he was already booked for a flight out on that same day, so he's gonna miss like his first gig, kind of. But
Oh,
Yeah,
you're sick already,
I need to
dude?
show that.
I know.
I'm a
Already missing?
slacker.
Already missing?
Yeah.
but he's the reason we got him permanent on there is because we're headed out to Europe in March.
Nice.
So that should be pretty good.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and take my crack at the first impression of Damian. I don't know, like first time I saw you, of course, like I thought you were a country artist too, and
Really? You thought
and
he
it's
was
weird
a-
because like in El Paso, it's really easy to. I'm sure it's like everywhere, but
Wow.
we're talking about
Not the
our
same
scene,
thing.
and it's really easy to group people, you know. So I saw you along the lines of people who play country shows and stuff like that. But I also saw you as somebody who has been places, like somebody who was accomplished, that you've done a lot of stuff. I assumed that you were talented before I even heard you sing, dude. And
Oh, wow.
before I saw you perform, and I thought, you know what, this guy's
It's like this arrogant bastard.
what?
He
made it.
better sing good.
Now that you mention it, I remember. I thought you were a rockabilly artist.
Oh,
That's
weird.
what it
Oh,
was.
wow.
So and then of course when I first walked in here, I saw the stand-up
The bass,
bass,
yeah,
and
me
I'm
too.
like,
Right.
oh.
You're like, oh yeah.
so
great.
that's what I thought. I thought, you know, this guy's been places, he's done stuff, and now he's helping other people do it.
Cool, very
Yeah.
cool.
And yeah, and I like the beard too, man, because obvious reasons.
All right, so I
Yeah.
want to know.
I can't grow it out. I just
wanna know.
get to a certain length and I have to shave it every time.
I can't cut it.
So I want to know who was Damian before he was Damian Wyldes.
There's actually a really funny, well, not really funny, but there's a story behind it. I've
Better be
played.
hilarious.
Well, it's not really hilarious. It's not as hilarious as my bondage story.
Oh, do tell that one after this one.
I should do stand up with that story, man. It's hilarious. Well, it just so happened that I mean I've played with like bands for like what 20 years, something like that. I've actually played like half of my career in bands, and then the other half as a solo artist. And when I was like with one of my very first bands that we were very serious and we would tour like 6 months out of the year at some point, we were getting an interview. We were sitting in a Village Inn and we were waiting for this guy to come interview us, and he comes in and he's like, hey, what's up, guys? Blah blah blah. He comes, sits down. We had one of those big circle booths. He sits down with us and we start having this interview, and then he directs his first question at me, and he's like, so Damian Wyldes, what is blah blah blah? And Damian Wyldes. I mean, my name's Damian, but my Wyldes is my artist name.
Right.
So he just for some reason called me Wyldes at that point, right? And everybody was like, thought it was like the most hilarious thing ever. So everybody just went with it. And for the rest of the interview, everybody's like, yeah, Damian Wyldes, what do you think? Yeah, Damian Wyldes this, Damian Wyldes that. And I just thought that the reporter like knew my name, my real name, and I thought that he was joking around. So they print up the story, and it literally had my like Damian Wyldes on it. And I was like, holy crap, this is like, people think this is like my real name.
It's your real name, yeah.
And then it was just like a thing that everybody would joke around with. They'd be like, yeah, Damian Wyldes. So eventually, like, everybody would just call me Damian Wyldes, and I was just like, whatever. But when I became a solo artist, that's like, okay, well, am I going to keep, like, what am I going to name myself? So I just kept it as Damian Wyldes after that, like, permanently.
So that's where the Wyldes came about.
Yeah.
Ah,
That's kind of like when
interesting.
people call you by your Instagram name sometimes. Like sometimes you know somebody as their Instagram name.
Yes,
Right?
I do
Right?
that.
It's Damian
I
Wyldes
admit-
music.
I admit it. I admit that.
I will freak out if anybody comes up to me and be like, "Hey, are you music player Ellen?"
Right? That would be weird.
Yeah, but the thing is, you're gonna have to say yes.
You're like,
No.
yes and no. It's all yes and no.
So how long has it been since you had the name of Wyldes? When did that happen? Like, how long ago?
Ooh, like 10 years ago.
Wow,
Yeah, at least.
That's
Nice.
so awesome. Very
Yeah.
interesting story how the Wyldes
cool.
name.
He'll
came
have to
about.
show you his picture that he has on the wall here of his band.
Oh, yeah, like when
In
it,
his
actually
90s
it's
get
that
up.
band.
In his
Ah.
90s get up.
Yeah, I know it's not even from the 90s, but like, yeah, it does look like very 90s kind of, very weird.
Nice. So let's go ahead and dig deeper than that, man. We're like almost maybe a quarter of the way. So we want to give you a chance to introduce yourself.
Okay. Well, hi.
Talk to us about like
Hi.
what got you started and things that you're working on now.
Okay, well, right now, genre of music I guess that I'm doing right now is, I guess we call it American roots now, but it's pretty much folk music.
Folk, yeah.
It's kind of folk, and it's in the
I
folk
like
genre.
folk, dude. There's some
I
good,
love
some
it.
good artists. Especially in El Paso too, man.
Oh yeah, there's some really good folk artists in El Paso. I mean Javier Martinez, for example.
yes.
Dude,
Who
don't
else?
talk to me
Definitely.
about he's not Javier Martinez anymore. He's
Oh yeah, he's Dutch.
Tale of Giants.
Yeah, that's
No,
right. That's
no
right.
more duck.
Yeah, no more duck either. Yeah.
Tale of Giants. It doesn't matter what name he gives himself, dude. He's
I mean, it's the same.
Amazing.
Yeah,
He's
it's just,
phenomenal,
he's
yeah.
not changing his style, so it's the same artist and everything. So it's pretty cool. And then, so yeah, I guess it's American roots. And I mean, I've been doing. I'm planning to finish up an album by the semi-beginning of next year, before I go to Europe. So, which will include most of the singles that I have out now, and a lot more other songs
Nice.
that are going to be in there, which are pretty cool. Some really cool ones that I've been kind of tucking under the sleeve and waiting to
cool.
record.
So you mentioned that Europe trip twice already. Can you give us a little more detail, or you can't,
yeah,
you
well-
can't do that yet? Or how did that come about?
Well, ever since last year, I had a song, Disengage, that it hit like number 2 in the Netherlands. So we were like, oh, I got to go to the Netherlands. Like right away, okay, let's go. So we were trying to figure out how to do this, and a lot of booking agents that I talked to were like, I'm not messing with that. You know what I mean? Like nobody wants to mess with that. So I'm like, okay, so what do I do? So little by little, at first it was like, never mind then. And then after a while, somebody else was like, yeah, dude, it's possible. And then they were like, never mind. And it was just like over and over. So it just went over for like months and months. And then come this year, and I had Greed, which is like a 2-time award-winning song already. And that one hit number 1 in the Netherlands as well. Like not number 2, it actually hit number 1. And then that one actually charted in the UK and in Australia, and in there's somewhere else I can't like off the top of my head, but it was like number 7, number 8, something like that. So it was like pretty decent, you know what I mean? So so it's like let's go out there. So we started trying to do that again, and some friends of mine hit me up. They're like, hey, like I can help you book this thing, and I'm like, well, and it's like he's like, well, I'm like, well, are you booking agent? He's like, not specifically, but it's a friend of mine that I actually know from school, but he used to work with I don't know if you've ever heard of Mexicans at Night.
Doesn't ring a bell.
No, they were.
Oh, you know what? I think I have heard of that.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
in fact, they have I forgot what they're called now.
What genre are they?
It's like Mexicanish kind of
Oh,
rock,
okay.
kind of cumbia, kind of.
Nice, yeah.
I'm gonna check them
But
out.
like Chuco town kind of thing. It's
Oh,
kind of cool.
nice.
Chuco flavor.
Yeah, it has like that Chuco flavor kind of rock kind of thing.
Chico vibe.
Yeah, and then so he's like, yeah, I used to book stuff for him all the time, and I'm like, okay, so kind of like managed him. He's like, yeah, and I already knew him, so I knew he was pretty serious about it.
You
So
know
we
where
had
I
a-
lived.
we had a meeting, and then we brought on a touring manager, and it just started snowballing and rolling. The whole ball started rolling, and we're already like bought our tickets to go out there and everything. So we're like,
How exciting.
we're already like, it's
Exciting,
not
man.
like a maybe, it's like a for sure. We're going. So
It's cool, man.
so
it's like
gonna be
making the
fun.
dream
Right.
come
Well,
true.
one of my bucket list places to play is in London, and that's like literally where we're going from LAX to London, and that's where we're playing first. So
Make it happen. Nice.
it's like, oh, I'm so excited about that.
Those are the best stories, man.
exciting.
Especially when our friends from El Paso do something like that. It's great, man. It's
We
like
get
people.
a lot of excitement for them.
Oh,
Yeah, because a lot of people, I don't know, man. When it comes to music, a lot of people doubt that you'll do anything like that. That's really significant. So when it happens, like I get pretty excited about it. I cheer my friends on from home. You know, even if I'm not too vocal about it or I don't post about it, I'm always happy for them, man.
That's cool.
Especially like Emily Davis and the Murder Police just came off this
man, I'm
dream
so
tour.
proud of them. Oh,
Bad
man.
Religion.
we
Dude,
are
like
too.
every
I'm
time
so
I
impressed and amazed.
I saw
It's
the
like,
posting about it, it's like I get a
geez.
little tear in my eye.
I know.
I'm so happy for
you
them,
should
man.
see. Every time I saw it, I'm like, oh my god, I'm so proud of you guys.
Yeah, dude.
It's
The
awesome.
hard work and dedication, y'all.
That's like
Musicians.
That's like a dream because I know Emily. She's like super fan. You know what I mean? Of like Bad Religion. So it's like for her to
She
be
did
like,
tons of covers.
oh yeah,
her
that's all
channel
she would
for
do.
that,
Just
yeah.
Bad Religion covers. Like that's how much of a
Yeah.
hardcore fan she is. So
Yeah, and not to mention the fact that she's like crazy talented,
oh yeah,
crazy
absolutely.
hardworking.
Very.
Like she's very driven and it paid off, man. That's great.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and she's also in Cult Love List with Javier.
Yeah.
You guys are gonna find out that we're big fans of Javier.
Right? You think? No, I really like the Cult Love List that they do. It's really cool.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
really like that. It's like kind of it gets me in the feels.
It's a perfect duo.
Yeah,
it's a
yeah, it's
perfect
cool.
duo right
Yeah, I like
there.
it. Yeah.
I remember the only time we seen you perform is at MacFest.
Oh, cool,
Our
cool.
really good friend Rosie Varela coordinated that this past summer,
Yeah.
and there was a day of like 20 plus local artists.
Yeah.
and it was great. Like you closed the night off. You were
Well, yeah.
Guess
I
what,
was
the
so
headliners.
excited. I kept
It
telling, I
was
can't
funny
wait
because
to see
we
David
played
finally.
acoustic. We like busted.
yeah, it was
But
great,
it was
man.
Yeah, it was
awesome.
fun.
You guys did great.
Yep.
It was fun. Yeah.
And you had a really good group of like musicians with you, man. It was
Oh yeah.
it was cool.
Yep, yep. It was fun.
And so like, where else do you perform? I know that we saw you there at MacFest, but what other opportunities have we missed to see you? Like where?
Like here
well,
locally,
or
like
venues.
Recently,
venues?
we played what was it, Locals Week?
Oh
That
yeah,
Locals Week. We played at the pizza joint, I believe, downtown.
Yeah.
That was fun. That's always pizza joint's always
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
So
when did you play that one?
That was a
was-
locals week. It was like last
Oh,
month.
really?
yeah, last month.
They had
and then,
they had different locals playing at different locations throughout El Paso.
You
Yeah.
need to let us know when you play again.
Yeah, tag
Yeah,
us.
yeah,
Locally,
absolutely.
yes.
Shoot
well, the
us a-
next one that's for sure confirmed is that Whiskey and Bourbon Festival at Sunland Park, and that's
Okay.
pretty fun.
Is that gonna be indoor?
Yeah.
Outdoor, or-
yeah, it's indoor. It's fun. Yeah, that one gets, and it gets packed too.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna give a lot of our good friends shameless plugs on this podcast. When I think about Sunland Park Mall, I always think of Piercing Polly's. Piercing
go.
Polly's.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, her cool shop is there at Sunland Park next to Zumiez.
Nice.
Cool. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
I need to get my nipples pierced.
I was about to say that. You beat me to it. You want to get your
I'm kidding,
nipples
though.
pierced or anything
I'm
else
kidding, though.
pierced,
I
you
think
hit
that
up
would hurt.
Holy.
I think that would
Dude,
hurt.
you are wild.
Right? No, I'm just kidding.
Let
I
me
think
show
that would
you
hurt.
how wild I
Yeah, I was
am.
thinking the same thing.
I read people's minds, so you'll get scared.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about piercings. I've never had
No.
anything pierced.
No, just me, just my gauges and stuff.
Me, just
but-
my
I've tried, but
earlobes,
it didn't
that's
last.
Yeah.
Did the lip. I like to fidget with it, but I noticed I was messing up my teeth, and I'm like,
Oh yeah, and then I had my eyebrow pierced at one
Oh,
point,
nice.
but
then he got crazy and ripped it out.
no, I just started realizing that trend kind of like didn't. It was weird.
That was the
Yeah, we were
90s
just going through
trend.
a phase.
I'm telling you.
Well, no, it's just really I started seeing the only people that would have it usually are like
Gothic.
Pirates.
women that like other women, kind of.
No, I actually like the eyebrow piercings. It looks nice. It looks pretty on.
They all look painful to me, so no.
You're like, oh, I'm out.
And in the nostril, also, it looks nice to me.
True.
Yeah,
It
that's
just seems
pretty
like
cool.
too much work.
Right.
Like I gotta clean it.
To maintain
I gotta
it.
like
much.
maintain it. Like I'm like I just want to wake up and do stuff.
Too much potential for infection
Yeah.
in my book.
Right?
But you know what? I'm not knocking it because it's just because it's not my thing. Doesn't mean that it's not a good thing. It looks
Yeah.
pretty cool on other people,
Yeah,
but
that's what I say.
like
It's nice.
like I grew a beard and I like it, and other people don't like it. So, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Touche.
Exactly.
So talk to us about like pre Damian Wyldes. Like, were you in other bands in El Paso?
Yeah.
Or-
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
I actually one of my favorite bands, my homies, Naughty Little Monkeys. We played with them. We actually toured like insatiably. We would like go on tour for like 6 months out of the year. Like we were just like literally
Wow.
drive by El Paso and be there like 2 nights and then keep
Was
going.
it all like DIY?
Yeah, it was all
Underground?
DIY. It was very, very cool. And we actually didn't even want to stop for like a while. After a while, we just got the usual story with every band, you know what I mean? So, but other than that, I played with another really cool band called Fall of an Empire for a while. And
What genre were those?
the first one was kind of like pop punk, kind of.
Pop punk.
And then the
Do you
other
still defend
one,
it or no?
Do I still
You
defend
still
it?
defend pop punk or no?
Yeah, it just depends. Well, we were kind of most on the cusp of like the post pop punk kind of thing. So it was kind of turning into like a really cool mix of like punk with like emo and kind of. That was cool. I
Yeah.
really liked that.
It was the awkward
So,
stage.
yeah, it was like I really liked that stage though because there was
Yeah?
like brand new and like
Oh,
the other cool bands were coming out. And it was just like it was like a really cool mix and we like our style reflected that as well. So it was kind of cool.
Wow.
So that was cool. And then
I
the
can
other
never picture you in a pop band.
right.
band.
No, yeah,
Until
it's
you
like
see
totally
that
weird.
picture.
Yeah.
Until you see that.
Oh yeah, I
picture.
wait till you see that picture with my little spiky hair and
You're
like
gonna have to start
Oh,
showing,
wow.
sharing some of those Facebook memories, dude.
right. And then the other band, Fall of an Empire. There was other bands in there, but like those are the most significant ones, I think.
That one rings a bell for some reason. Fall of an Empire.
Yeah, because it was like what is it? What's the word that I'm looking for? That's the style, kind of like Mars Volta-ish.
Oh,
kinda
nice.
like that kind of style. Very, very well. What it was is that for me, it was like a last ditch effort to like do something musically that I wanted to do. That was just like so musically that I was like gonna be satisfied no matter what. And then that's kind of what it was. So it was like progressive Latin fusion. It was like very weird. And I would play like I was singing and I would play keyboards and I would like do singing, keyboards, and vocoder all at the same time. And then like we had like a really, really good drummer. His name is Michael Hernandez. He used to play with also a bunch of bands. Actually, he was like signed to like Hollywood Records before he like started playing with us. Things like that. So it was pretty cool. And then we had like a conga player. It was just like a real crazy mix of like it was really cool. So and then we would have shows and we'd bring in like belly dancers for some reason. It was like this. Yeah, we'd get crazy.
That's
But-
still a thing.
yeah, definitely, and it was fun. And we would play with bands that were like we played with this one band. I can't remember the name, but like bands that were like signed to like Sony and different, and they'd be like, "Oh my god, you guys are like the most amazing thing we've ever heard." But like nobody really got it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like a musician band. It was weird. It was like for musicians almost. It was like, oh okay. But after that, I was like, at least I got to do that, and I got satisfied, and then I became a solo artist after that.
Yeah, I totally get that. Like, there's so many acts that we see that are really good, like really talented. They're like a lot of underground bands that are touring, and they're, you can tell they're doing it all on their own. They have no label, and they pay for everything out of their own pockets. And a lot of times, like, I wonder, like, how come these guys they're not famous yet? How come they haven't been signed? And there's a lot of bands like that, man. A lot of really talented musicians who they're just waiting for that one break.
Oh yeah.
It's because nowadays it's so hard to get signed.
So like, how hard do you think it is
So
to get
hard.
signed?
I mean,
like for
Very
like
hard.
a El Paso musician who's in a band that's really talented, what are the chances of them getting signed? And what are the pitfalls? What are the pitfalls to that?
Honestly, I mean, I run River Moon Records, so it's like, I pretty much have our own
Your
our
label.
own label, you know what I mean? But that's kind of like the way the industry is now. It's not really like you don't really even need a label, to be honest
No,
with you.
you
You can really if
true.
you really learn what you're doing well and learn and know what you're doing, you can literally take what you're doing and just roll with it. And if it's if people will like it, you can roll with it and work. I mean, it's hard work, like everything. You know what I mean? It's like super hard. There's no such thing as like a fairy tale kind of thing. Either way, like even if there's a big label involved, there's no such thing as like, oh, I'm not gonna do anything and I'm gonna get signed. You know what I mean? There's
Right.
always super like amounts of like hard work that it's like.
It's not like you just sign a contract and boom, that's it.
Yeah. There's, I mean,
it's not like that
in
anymore.
fact, most labels, even back then, and especially now, like they don't even want to sign people unless they don't even want to sign you and record you. They're like, let's review what finished products are available right now and see who we're gonna roll with. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, they
most
don't
of the
even want to
time-
touch anything.
Most of
Yeah,
the time, they just want to help you with distribution, right? And you can do that on your own.
yeah.
Well, you're a prime
There was a-
example because your music, some of your songs have been number 1, number 2 in the charts.
Yeah, oh,
like
yeah.
you were stating earlier, and you did it all on your own. You don't need
Yeah, yeah.
anyone.
Yeah, I mean,
You
even
can do it yourself.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things where I'm like, well, because you can pay for like radio promotion and different
Yeah.
things like
Right.
that, even just on its own. Kind of like, start paying different people to do different things, which is, almost basically what a record label does.
Exactly.
But being like the DIY at heart, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, I really don't want to. Yeah, I mean, it's like it goes back to the mentality that nobody's really gonna care about your stuff more than you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's pretty much
That goes
all it
with
is.
a lot of things.
Yep.
Yeah,
not
it just
music.
nobody's gonna care really, especially if it's like music. It works really well like that. Even if you pay somebody, I mean, chances are that's like 50% of that's even gonna get done because they don't really care. You know, unless you really really believe in what you're doing, they're not really gonna care.
Point is, you just got to put in hard work. It was just like that band that was managing us for just a second, Dichotic, and he said he did everything DIY, everything, and he's still DIY. Even on, I can't remember the band's name, but I know Chris from Not My Master knows him, but he's with a bunch of big bands like Hell Yeah, and they're playing with them, and he said it's all about hustling when you're out on the road, and that's how they made it through.
Yeah, and Now My Master's a great example of just hustling, man. Those guys are out every weekend playing in Dallas and Austin and
Everywhere.
in Hollywood. They played at some really well-known, famous venues and stuff, and they just keep chugging along. I think that's the whole idea: is just keep working towards it, work till you make it. I mean, it's tough because I know that musicians are very passionate about their work. They put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. There I go with the cliches, but that's the truth. They put in a lot of themselves. They invest a lot. And like you said, nobody really cares more than you do, or they just don't care at all. But just keep working.
Got to put in the work. Is that
Yeah,
a lot of time?
a lot of
Yeah.
people
A
don't
lot
want to
of
put in the
work,
work.
hard work.
A lot of people don't.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like personally speaking from my perspective, like as a photographer, I stopped like hoping that people would like blow my stuff up because now I don't really care about that. I find more enjoyment in just doing it and sharing it, and that's it for me. I mean, I like that. It's my leisure time, and I enjoy it. So I wonder if any musicians feel the same way. It's like they create something new, they play it, and it's like their everyday thing for a while. Maybe they get the fulfillment just from that, from the
Yeah,
experience.
there
Yeah.
are musicians that just
And
put on
sometimes it
music
just
just
happens.
because.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what's the difference between all that and Khalid? Like Khalid blew up from one day to the next.
Well, no, I honestly don't think he blew up from one.
Well, you
day
know
to
what?
the next.
You know what? And you're right.
He
I
probably
stand
did not.
corrected.
He
It
probably
always seems like that,
Yeah.
but there's always a lot of work.
No,
Well-
he did a lot of work.
Yeah, he
'Cause,
did work.
Hard
I followed
worker.
him on Instagram.
Yeah.
And he would like constantly
Yeah.
showcase his music there.
Mm-hmm.
His. I mean, I think he's a great
Genius, man.
Yeah, he is. He's a great songwriter as well. So I would see him and I go, man, this kid is gonna get famous. And sure enough, look where
Oh,
he's at now.
nice. But
So
even
happy for him.
when he got signed, because I'm sure he got signed like way before he blew up. But they like they kind of like they usually when record labels trying to figure out how they're gonna approach an artist and how they're gonna make him grow, you know what I mean? There's like a strategy. So
Right.
like, oh, we're gonna make him go this way, make him
Right.
seem like this, you know what I mean? So I'm pretty sure they had signed him like a way back when,
Yeah.
but he's just
They had to work on it.
they're trying to figure out how they're gonna
Work
launch
on it,
him and
yeah.
make him seem like you know what I mean, humble and like cool and like a certain way.
And you know, it's cool because like you think, well, this guy all of a sudden from nowhere he's famous, but you know, I can tell you, we went to see him earlier this year when he did that benefit show for the whole Paso, the August 3rd event that happened here and stuff, and his show was excellent, man. Like from beginning to end, that guy is, you can tell he's really putting the work, man. Because all his music is great. He's made a lot of major connections, like with the people, the friends he brought to perform.
Oh yeah.
It was like a real
It was awesome
concert experience with him,
Right.
and it was great. You can't say that guy got anybody, like he didn't do it just because. He didn't make it just because. He earned it.
That's cool. That's actually the best thing. I mean, really, because there are instances where people are like just get signed, you know, they
Yeah.
get lucky.
Yeah, true, yeah.
I mean, it doesn't. I don't think it happens as much anymore, but
I think it was more prevalent like in the 80s and 90s maybe.
but it's like you
A lot of
you would
one-hit
see 'em.
wonders.
Yeah, you see them. They get
You still
signed
had to
and
know
it's like-
people though. I mean, there was a cookie cutter phase in the
There
90s.
still is a cookie
for a
cutter,
while.
right?
There is.
But
Yeah.
back then it was like really like that in the 90s, like really hardcore. I could think of 1,000 bands that sounded like all the main.
Oh yeah,
core
in
90s
bands, yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah.
Now it's like that in pop though, or like
Yeah.
you know, yeah. So totally.
What about K-pop?
What
I mean,
about
there's a lot of big
K-pop?
fans of K-pop, man.
My
What about
daughter loves
K-pop?
cake pop.
Cake pops? Yeah, I love cake pops. They're delicious.
I can't believe I asked about K-pop.
Should have brought some cake pops.
Cake pops.
I don't even know what that means. The degree of foodie.
Yeah.
What is that?
Dude, like on a scale from 1 to 10.
I didn't know that was a thing. Do you know that's a thing?
No, what thing?
What degree of foodie you are?
Oh.
What does that mean? You're gonna have to explain what that means.
Well,
Like I would say, like I'm a
I'm a
pretty
big
big foodie. Hell yeah, I'm a big
I'm
foodie.
a Taurus. Tauruses
Like
are no. We
it just
love food.
means you're obsessed with food, or
no, it means you're obsessed with good food.
Yeah.
Yes,
Or like
good
different food, or like
food.
very specific.
oh, then I'm like through the roof. Like
No. I only like American and Mexican food. That would be like a low grade foodie. Not to knock Mexican food because I love it, but like a 10 degree would be like I like Korean barbecue and I like
Yes.
Mongolian beef and I also like Italian food
I love it.
and I like tamales and I like
Authentic Mexican food.
Whataburger. Not
Seafood.
In-N-Out.
Yeah.
So like
I don't
on a
get
scale
in
from
and
1
out.
to 10.
Pastas. Ay,
I will never get in and out. I will
Well,
never
it's-
understand
I
it.
like
No.
both. I like both. But yeah, I think I don't know. I think I still think Whataburger's.
But I'm not a Whataburger
Yes.
fan
It's
either.
just hardier.
I agree.
Yeah, I think so too.
And the other one's kind of like not as I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's like kind of flimsy to me, like
Yeah?
a burger. It's like even if you pick even if you buy
In
like
and out or Whataburger?
Yeah, In and Out. Like if
Oh,
you
yeah.
buy like a 5x5, because you can order like a 10x10 if you want.
In-N-Out is a
and they'll
cult
serve
following.
You a 10.
The
It is.
fries are no good. I'm sorry. Sorry, In and
Yeah,
Out.
yeah, that I
fanatics,
agree with
but
that.
No,
Yeah.
fries
They
are
don't- I wonder if there's even potato.
no good.
Are they made of potato, the fries?
Yeah,
Or
they
I
string
are.
or
have no
something.
idea. But Whataburger beats In and Out.
In and Out actually
My
just cuts
opinion.
whole potatoes. They actually
Do
cut
they
whole,
really?
and they just throw it in the fryer. That's
Oh
why
my god, they're like fresh.
yeah, yeah.
Whataburger's more like a
Too fresh.
situational kind of burger. Like it depends on what the situation is. If it's like 2 a.m. after a night of partying or going to a show, it always sets a spot.
Well, I will admit that the last time we were in Austin was like when I was on tour. It was like not this past South by Southwest, but the one before. Like we actually played like at the Dirty Dog Bar and some other few like side festivals that were there. And we ended up the night the last day that we were there. We played like 2 gigs, one in Austin and one in San Antonio. So when we finished in San Antonio and we're like driving out, we're like, hey, let's go to In-N-Out. And we literally drove out of our way like an hour just to go to In-N-Out. So even though I think Whataburger's better, I still
drove an hour to go get In-N-Out.
Exactly. I still drove
Yeah,
an
I think
hour out
you
of
were
my
just
way.
like caught up in the moment. You're like, hell yeah, let's get in and out.
Right?
Let's drive an hour. Cool, yeah, let's go. So like, what are the differences between shows in Austin and San Antonio compared to?
Well, the shows in Austin, people, you know what? In Austin and El Paso, you mean? Mm-hmm. Well, people go to the shows in Austin. Sorry, El Paso. People go. Like, even if they're like, I mean, they're free shows sometimes. people, you literally sometimes in Austin, you won't make money because there's just so much music going on.
Competition.
But people go to the shows. Like the bar will be packed with people just going to see live music.
Especially 6th Street.
Yeah, especially 6th Street, and people will buy your merch. See, that's actually one of the things that'll help. Like people, they're like, "Hey, cool! Like you're awesome. Let me buy you, vinyl record if you have it. You have shirts. Let me buy something. Let me help you. You know what I mean? Like tip if you put out a tip jar and they like you, they'll tip your tip jar. You know what I mean? So, but in El Paso, I mean that does help, and also in El Paso, it's just a little bit less. You know what I mean?
I think a lot of great bands come through El Paso, but
Oh yeah.
I mean, El Pasoans, where are you?
Yeah, I don't know, man, because it's not
we
promotion.
don't know how to get the people out there to the shows. It's like, man, you're missing a great band here.
I will say
know?
this in defense of El Paso, it's happening in a lot of cities for sure. Just from going on tour, not all of them, but there's still. I just want to put that out there because a lot of people think it's just here.
No, it's not. It's everywhere.
But there's been a few cities I've been to already just from touring. I'm like, oh, this is exactly like how El Paso.
And it's crazy because
Everywhere.
I always try to
I don't
compare
think people are going out.
what things are like now compared to when we were teenagers. And I remember when I was a teenager, man, in the 80s, everybody would stop in El Paso. Every big band that we liked, for example, Iron Maiden, Scorpions, and Dokken, and Triumph, and
Did
Judas
one of them
Priest.
get kicked out or something like that? They couldn't come back to El Paso?
Yes, I'll talk about that right now.
I'm like, which band was that?
Def Leppard, you mean? You're talking about Def Leppard?
those bands would come and people would show up, man. We would fill up the Coliseum, and the majority of the people who were there were teenagers. So, and then I look to see how things are now, and there are some really good bands that come to El Paso who have a decent following. They have, a lot of fans, and they have really great music and stuff. But kids don't go anymore, man. And I know a lot of times the topic of bars comes up because they don't always allow minors into the bars. There aren't any more venues that are all ages all the time like before.
That's true. Wasn't War Room
The War Room was all ages all the
Yeah,
time.
that was
Probably what's
packed.
affecting
So
a
was the
lot
spot.
of
That
these
was
teenagers
packed.
that go to shows then.
But back then, we went to everything, man, and we bought tickets, we paid full price, and we never even thought about it. It just happened.
Yeah.
There's
So-
one place that was really different was when I moved back to New York and I was in a band called Embrace the Massacre. Those shows always were packed and everybody's willing to pay. But it's like you said, there's a lot of all ages. Venues out there that still have the alcohol, but they're willing to go through the structure.
And and another big difference that I've seen is that now, if you like a band, you can actually talk to them at their shows. You can meet them at their merch table. You can actually
As to before, we
you
weren't
can request
allowed
them on
to do any of
Facebook
that.
and become friends with them. And I'm bringing that up because Judy and I have made a lot of really good friends from the touring scene. Like we have friends who have been to our house. They stay at our house sometimes. Judy's actually cooked for a lot of them. They've come to our house and chilled before their show. They get off the road, they get to shower and just chill before their show and stuff. And back in the 80s, there was no way in hell that was going to happen. Because those bands were taken care of, and you get lucky if you met them.
Because they were all on heroin. You're not coming to my house. Now you're at least half of them will be straight edge. So you're like, all right, I can handle this.
They had back then their drugs and their groupies. And
Yeah, but you wouldn't if you did meet them, it was because you want to meet and greet or something, Now you can actually talk to them outside the venue at their bus or whatever, at their van. Most of the time it's a van. So that's a big difference. And even still, it's hard to get kids to go to shows.
Also, I'll add that, from my experience before when I used to play, because I stopped playing for 5 years, almost 5 years from the last album that I recorded to what I'm doing now, and I was living in Pittsburgh and Denver or whatever. And when I came back here, I noticed that it was really different. Well, what I noticed that was different was that before, if you had a bunch of people that supported you, you would have a show. And you could charge $5. You could literally charge $5 at the door, and people would go and pay. And they'd be like, "Yeah, cool, no problem, whatever. We're supporting the band. Let's hang out, whatever." Now it's nobody wants to pay anything. It's really weird.
not even the $5.
Yeah, not even a donation or nothing.
know.
But the mentality up north, they're like, $5 to see 7 bands? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
This is great. Because
Yeah, so-
everything's
That is great.
expensive. So they're like, $5 to see a show? I get to check out 5 bands? Yeah. So, yes. That's the only place I've seen it like that, where people will actually pay